Hey everybody, all my dispellers. It's me, Dispeller. And I am here because I'm going to be doing the next 2 chapters of this book because guess what, y'all? Guess what? I found it. Well, I found it and Nathy went outside and got it for me. This is the book, people, the book, Boundaries. When to Say Yes, When to Say No, To Take Control of Your Life by Dr. Henry Cloud and Dr. John Townsend. We're going to be getting into this book soon, maybe today, I don't know. But I am going to finish up this book as well. And right now, I want to do 2 chapters from this book, 2 of them, The Meddler and The Martyr, like the oh poor me person. We all know these people. We all have seen these people. We've experienced them. And meanwhile, if y'all are bored today, maybe you're not working, maybe you never work, maybe you're bedridden, I don't know, and you just want a place to hang out that's going to be interesting, I'm going to be reading. Sorry if you don't enjoy that. But you can always come in and chat with your friends in the side chat. That's cool. Or with me. And I always look to see who's chatting so I can answer your questions or comment or whatever I need to do. But frankly, I'm not used to being home, and I want to be at work right now. So I'm trying to do this to get my mind off of things and maybe also share a little bit of helpful information with people. All right, so without further ado, we're going to read The Meddler. And then when these 2 are done, because this is why I'm doing this, there's only these 2 left, these 2 chapters left of actual personalities that we have to deal with. And then after that, there is the chapter, What If People Can't Stand You? And that deserves a chapter or a video of its own for sure. And then we get into communicating in email, communicating in technology, cell phones, blah, blah, blah. And we can do that like, here and there. That's not a big deal. But these 2, I want to get them read, done, out of the way, commented on, whatever. And then we can commence with the rest of the book whenever. Okay. Boundaries, I'm not sure when I'm going to start it. Like I said, it could be soon, maybe. I don't know. Maybe today. Let's see. Stand by and find out. Okay, The Meddler. And you know me, I change my mind 50 zillion times a day anyway. So welcome to my cyclothymic world. All right. That little beep that you heard, I'm making blueberry muffins in my air fryer. I made some this morning. We ate them for breakfast. I made some more that are going to go with our fish dinner whenever we eat that. Okay. So here we go. The Meddler. And I'm fine if I have to read this to myself because nobody comes in. That's fine too. Whatever. I'm going to get these chapters done and read because I want to. And I can. Sally Squirrel arrived at the branch where she was supposed to meet the new squirrel guy in her life. She hoped it was sufficiently far from home to keep her mother Susie from finding out. But then came a demanding voice from a tree away. Sally, where are you hiding? Show yourself. And just like that, her mother was on the same branch facing Sally. So how's the chipmunk? Susie demanded. I heard that you weren't seen with one. Sally sat silently. Oh, you were seen with one. Sally sat silently stunned, not only at how quickly the news had gotten around, but also how twisted it had become. Who told you I was seeing someone? She asked. Someone must have seen her, she thought, because she hadn't told anyone, particularly her mother. She didn't want to have to deal with the relentless questioning she knew she was about to undergo. It was like an interrogation, only without the bright lights. A little bird told me, her mother replied. Why would you give a chipmunk the time of day? Do you plan to live in a hole in the ground? Chipmunks are nothing but hoarders. If you ask me, they'll never amount to anything. You know, they always use animals here so they protect the lives of the innocent or the reputations of the innocent. They don't use names. But I'm sure if somebody read this book or heard it, they would know that they were talking about them. Sally didn't want to tell her a thing, yet she felt compelled to say something. Come on, Mom, he's not a chipmunk. He's a wonderful southern squirrel, and I'm just getting to know him. Southern? What kind of family does he come from? What are his plans for the future? Did you know that stylish Sammy Squirrel hops by our home every week asking after you? He is so bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. I told him you'd have acorns with him tomorrow at the big oak tree. You told him what? Sally screeched. You heard me. He looks like a solid provider, not another one of the nutcases you keep getting involved with. But I'm seeing Red tomorrow, Sally squealed and smacked herself in the head with her tail for revealing his name. Red, is it? In which tree does he live? I'll let him know that you can't make it. Mother, you'll do no such thing. Susie didn't even flinch. Red? What kind of squirrel is named after a color? What does he do, this Red? Does he have any plans? Sally was now so off balance from the onslaught of questions that she stuttered out of a feeble, I don't know what he plans to do. I'm just getting to know him myself. Don't tell me he's another dropout or that he's just a gatherer. Anyone can do that. You know what they say, eventually even a blind squirrel finds the nuts. No, as a matter of fact, he's not a dropout. In fact, he's a flyer. He can glide. He's cute and he's funny. For all I know, maybe he'll go into entertainment. He gets his picture taken every day. He's the most downloaded squirrel on the internet. He's going to be somebody. Susie twitched her tail in disgust and pressed on. Not a high-flying.com squirrel. And where will you be when he crashes and burns? How do you know he isn't just trying to weasel his way into your nest for a season? After all, why buy the feeder when you can get the seeds for free? Suddenly, horror crossed Sally's face as she looked a few branches beyond her mother and saw Red. She covered her face with her tail, hoping he wouldn't see her, but a hop, bounce, and flying jump later, he was right there with them. Hi, Sally, ma'am. He tipped his head to Susie. How y'all doing? Sally Sally still hadn't uncovered her face. From behind her tail, she mumbled, Hi, Red. Susie looked him up and down. So, you're Red. I'll have you know I'm Sally's mother. With a gentle sweep of his tail and a bow of his head, Red drawled, A pleasure to meet you, Mrs. Squirrel. I hear you and my daughter are dating, Susie said. Sally was still hiding her face behind her tail when the situation went from bad to worse. So, Red, what are your intentions toward my daughter? Are you going to marry her? Red's mouth began slowly to open, but before he could answer, they heard an urgent voice cry, Mother! Mother! It was Sally Squirrel's sister, Sarah, who hopped, leaped, dropped when she missed a branch and made a good recovery, then jumped and joined the three of them on the branch. Mother, I think the chipmunks may be raiding our nest. Without a word, Susie bolted from the branch and was gone. Do y'all need help? Red asked. Sarah Squirrel gave them a wink of her eye and a shake of her tail, and they realized she was helping them out. Thanks so much, Sarah, her sister said. I owe you. Yeah, you do. But right now, you two better get out of here before she gets back. As the two squirrels leapt, jumped, and scampered off, Sally wondered, why does Mother have to do that? The last thing I need right now is her interference in my life. Meddlers think they know what's best for you. So they use unwanted questions and advice to try and manage your life. A meddler's behavior begins when the intention to get it done combines with the intention to get it right. Here's our meddler right at the top here. See, right there. Perfection, control, all that stuff all kind of comes into play with the meddler. When the intent to get it right is combined with the intent to get it done and is projected onto other people, meddlers feel compelled to intervene. They seek to get others to change what they're doing and how they're doing it by pointing out what needs to be avoided and directing people toward what needs to take place. In other words, micromanaging. Their behavior indicates that they have no confidence in the ability of people to make it happen. They criticize others and tell them what to do instead in order to assure the right result. When are you going to get married? They'll want to know, and then give you the third degree. By prodding instead of persuading, their attempts to have influence are treated like unwelcome interference. Hold on, I got people texting me left and right here. What? Bam. Okay. I answered that one. Let me see the other one. I already answered her. Okay. All right. Back we go. The range of difficulty, nosy to manipulative. There is a range of difficulty among meddlers. There are your basic nosy meddlers who look over your shoulder in order to get a glimpse into your life. This involves poking around in subjects that are no one else's business in order to find out what you're doing. There are the controlling meddlers who look over your shoulder in order to make sure you do exactly what they want done. Don't do this, do that. Watch out for that. Don't touch that. Do what you're told or be judged a failure. Then there are the interfering meddlers who do things for you against your express wishes, but for your own good. After all, these meddlers know what's right for you, and you're obviously not going to take the appropriate amount of responsibility. In their mind, that's what they're saying. Finally, there are the manipulative meddlers who mess with a key detail of your life in order to affect some other part of your life. You, of course, are the last to know. And by the time you find out, the deed is done and you get to deal with it. From what you wear, to whom you spend time with, to how you talk, to what you do, the meddlers are keeping an eye on you. Yeah, very true. Meddlers drive me nuts. Micromanagers drive me nuts, too. I won't have those last in my life very long because it drives me crazy. Hang on, I'm trying to put my foot up again. I've been being good. I've been putting ice on things and putting my foot up, I promise. Okay, let's see. You'd better adjust your attitude. Of all the problem behaviors you could deal with, the meddlers can be the most perplexing. Meddlers' good intentions, no matter how badly implemented, are evident. Their desire to do the right thing for them is an irresistible call to action. You're not going to convince them that meddling is wrong because in their frame of reference, nothing could be more right. In your behavior and manner, approach meddlers with caution and a strong sense of responsibility. This blends with both their intent to get it right and get it done. Enter into the dialogue from a place of commitment, strength, and determination, while knowing that they must do what they think is right and responsible. A little bemusement kept to yourself is a plus. It will help you not to take their behavior too seriously, no matter how invasive or personal they become. Hi, buddy. Hey. They might have to watch through a kitty cat body, huh? Hi, my boy. In terms of your demeanor, be relaxed and reflective in the presence of invasive and even hostile questions. Just because they ask a question doesn't mean you have to answer it. Instead, ask them a question back and then be curious enough to look and listen for whatever's behind what they've said. If they ask about your diet or weight, be curious about their food and appearance issues. If they ask about your love life, be curious about their relationship issues. If they ask about your finances, be curious about their money issues. Speak with self-assurance so that you send the clear signal that you're responsible for yourself and alert to making your best choices. Your nonverbal response must also convey that you're responsible and want to do what's right. Next, don't answer questions that have not specifically been asked. If they don't ask, don't tell. Just recognize human nature instead of spilling the beans. And if they do ask specific questions, remember, you still don't have to tell them the answers. Instead, rather than deal with the content of their questions, focus on their intentions and the pattern of their relationship with you. Don't volunteer details or reveal anything that you don't want them involved with. Once the cat is out of the bag, it's difficult to put it back in. Yeah, I hate saying, because I know what that means, I think. Although why the cat was in the bag is something we never really understood. Realize that they may not know where to draw the line and may go further than you want them to. That's why I always talk about the feather pillow. Once you break open a feather pillow and those feathers fly everywhere, you can't put them back in. I don't like that whole cat out of the bag thing. That's just disturbing to me. Okay. Don't involve them unless you know they have something to offer. If they do have something to offer, let them know what it is as specifically and narrowly defined as possible, rather than leaving it open-ended or subject to interpretation. By exercising some responsibility over their input, you may be able to maintain an appropriate boundary between you. Your goal: preserve and protect the boundary. Welcome, everybody. When dealing with meddling meddlers who seek to first invade and then remotely run your life, your behavior must send an unmistakable signal that there is a boundary between you that will not be crossed. And we will definitely be talking about boundaries. Boundaries. Next time I go live, it will be the Boundaries book. Maybe today, maybe tomorrow, maybe next week. I don't know. Probably today because I'm in a reading mood today for some odd reason. Okay. They must come to understand that while you appreciate their concern and interest, you have the outcome under control and a clear view of the details along the way. The best thing they can give you is their support, and the best thing you can give them is a well-defined boundary that they cannot cross. Action plan. Option 1, appreciate their intentions. The behavior of meddling is often adopted as a solution to the problem of loneliness. More often than not, meddlers are older than you, with too much time on their hands. Add to this the feeling of being unwanted and unneeded that sometimes comes with age. The result? You have people trying to have some responsibility somewhere by applying what they think they've learned from their own life to targets of convenience. Essentially, that's whoever happens to be around. Now, in my case, meddlers can come even younger than me and just think they have to control me, and they want to. So that's happened too. In fact, the narcissist in my life, way back when in the early 2000s, was younger than me. She was like 6 years younger than me and still tried to control me. So they don't necessarily have to be old people, but yes, a lot of times the elderly people who think they know better than you do want to try to meddle and control your life. That is true. Okay. When meddlers occupy their thoughts with the business of others, they can experience being with others, even if they're alone. When they see you, they can't help but offer you what they came up with for your benefit. Other times, meddlers meddle to compensate for the guilt they feel over their own failures. They didn't figure out what to do until it was too late for them, but it isn't too late to help you. Telling meddlers that what they're doing is wrong, verbally or non-verbally, will likely trigger a wave of self-justification and defensive communication that could damage the future of your relationship. Obviously, this is better avoided. Unless you want out of the relationship, then that's a good way to get rid of them. While you may hate what they're doing, there's no reason for or value in hating them for doing it. Instead, you can express appreciation to them for their interest and concern. In this way, you meet them where they are. And with a little luck, which I don't believe in, a little things going your way, you may relieve a good deal of the pressure that drives their behavior by receiving it as an unintended gift, or as an intended gift, rather than interference or imposition. That's why it's hard to go wrong when you thank meddlers for their intentions. If possible, you can even thank them for their actions based on your understanding of their intentions. Thank them for visits, for gifts, for advice, for time spent, for interest. Let them see you as someone who respects their desire to get it done and get it right, and they will remain open to your influence down the road. Option 2, give them a place to meddle. Sometimes people meddle because they have nothing else to occupy their time. With all that time on their hands, they get to thinking about ways to meaningfully contribute to the people they love, and they arrive at the idea of making other people's lives their hobby. They'll offer their good advice, keep an eye on things, and watch out for preventable problems, trying to make sure that nothing goes wrong. If they're determined to meddle, put the behavior in context and give the meddlers a place to meddle. Ask their advice on an issue of lesser consequence. This may create a diversion from the subject you would prefer them to leave alone. Pick an area where their meddling is harmless and possibly constructive. Invite their assistance. Let them help you with something, even if it's something you can do more easily without their help. This gives them the feeling of being responsible and appropriate, and it may satiate their need to be involved in your life. If a meddler is meddling with your wedding preparations, put the meddler in charge of something, even if it's just making the place cards. Count your blessings that you have someone willing to help and take advantage of the offer. Option 3, meddle with the meddling. There are so many ways to meddle with the meddling, like taking control, having a canned response, or creating a diversion. Take control. You can stop being a victim by taking control of the meddling. Become fascinated with it and try to find out everything you can from the source, the meddlers, of course. Find out their interests. Find out how they define the words they use. Find out by asking questions. Ask enough questions, and you may even reveal to them that they know less about the subject than they thought. If that's the case, they'll back off and get out of your way. Let their behavior be your cue. The next time they ask about your private life, ask them what they want to know and then probe their answers. So here we go with a little kind of dialogue thing. Meddler says, "Are you dating?" You. "What is it that you want to know about me and dating?" Meddler. "Well, I want to know what kind of person you're seeing." You. "What kind of person would you like me to be seeing?" Meddler. "You shouldn't wear that. It makes you look fat." You. "It makes me look fat to whom?" Meddler. "People." Then you. "What is it about looking fat that matters this much to you?" Meddler. "All that butter will raise your cholesterol." You. "How much will this butter raise my cholesterol?" Meddler. "I mean in general." You. "How much butter in general will raise my cholesterol?" Gosh, I don't know if this would work. I mean, this is very old-fashioned, it feels to me, some of these responses that they give. So any of you that are watching this that are really getting into it, let me know what kind of responses you think would work well in these situations. Like, have you dealt with somebody that meddles in your life? How do you deal with it? I know that every time somebody meddles in my life, I deal with it very wrong. I get mad. I tell them it's none of their business. Stop trying to control me. This is my life. Kind of like Billy Joel, you know. Go ahead with your own life. Leave me alone. Yeah, that's pretty much me. So, yeah, if you have a better way of dealing with it, I'd love to hear your comment. Leave it down below. Have a canned response. If meddlers meddle in predictable ways and you can anticipate the kind of things they'll say, then having predictable responses to say in response may be all that's needed to derail the meddling. For example, the meddler says, "Dear, when are you going to get married?" You. "Aunt Ellen, I'll get married just as soon as I find someone to love me as much as Uncle Harry loves you." That one is particularly effective because it has two possible reactions. If Aunt Ellen is unhappy with Uncle Henry, she isn't going to keep rushing you into something you might regret. And if she is happy with Uncle Harry, she's going to want you to wait until you find the right person. Hello, Shaggy. Predictable responses are best thought of ahead of time. The next time meddlers meddle in that predictable way, what do you want to remember to say? Write it down, practice it, and then when the opportunity presents itself, use it. Create a diversion. You could also use the Jungle logic to create a diversion. Jungle logic makes an artificial connection between what the meddlers say and what you say in response. Meddler. "That coat is not going to keep him warm. Why don't you buy him a decent coat for the winter?" You. "Thanks for mentioning the winter. I was in town the other day and I saw this lovely window display that you would have enjoyed so much." Then just keep going for at least a minute. Meddler. "If you get fat, no one's going to like you and you'll end up alone and miserable like your father's brother. Is that what you want?" You. "I'm so glad you mentioned him. Have you talked with him lately? The last time we spoke, he... ... Once you start talking, keep going for at least 30 seconds to a minute. This may be enough to distract them and make them forget their attempt to meddle. You can also employ a visual distraction. Meddler. "I can't believe you wasted your money on that car. What were you thinking?" You. "I was thinking, look, over there." Yeah, distract them some way or another. Never go full, junk-o-logic, not jungle logic. Junk-o-logic, it's called. Then point somewhere suddenly. And why do you say never go there? What was your experience with going jungle-logic, Shaggy? Then point somewhere suddenly. Start talking about what you see at the end of your finger. Watch them get confused. On the phone, say, "Oh my, amazing." And then just start talking about anything else. This sort of sudden and strange behavior is called a pattern disruption. If you do it regularly in the presence of a behavior you want to discourage, your meddler may find it harder and harder to remember to bother meddling at all. One woman told us of the time her mother demanded to know of her boyfriend. When are you going to marry my daughter?" Her sister jumped in just then with a distraction. "When are you going to pass the potatoes?" Then she quickly changed the subject to something else, and they made it through the rest of the meal without further meddling. Usually, they're making it sound like if you distract the meddler, they're just all of a sudden going to get flustered and forget what they're saying. No, if you distract the meddler, in my opinion and my experience, they're going to notice what you're doing. They're just going to feel very self-conscious about it, and they might stop. It just depends. Option 4, negotiate the boundary. What's usually missing with meddling is a clearly defined boundary between you and the meddler. When you find that a meddler in your life is working toward an apparently different life for you than the one you're living, It may be time to negotiate a boundary that you both can live with. Boundaries coming soon. Yes, a plug. Plan a meeting. Set a formal appointment to talk with your meddler about the role he or she is playing in your life. Agree together on a time and a place where you can talk, preferably someplace neutral, where you can both feel relaxed and free of your normal day-to-day responsibilities, like a restaurant or a walk in the park. By making this a planned conversation instead of a casual one, you're more likely to bring the problem behavior into focus. So now, of course, they got to give you a little, dialogue example here. I appreciate all your efforts to look out for me over the years. I have a problem that I'd like to discuss with you. Could we make a lunch appointment to discuss the role you play in my life? I have some ideas that I think will make it less stressful and more productive for both of us. I'd like you to bring your ideas about this to our meeting, too. Interesting. Don't know how that would work. It just depends on the person you're dealing with, I guess. Be prepared. And by the way, Shaggy, Zoinks is not an answer or a proper response to my question. Zoinks does not answer my question at all. So you want to try again? Maybe actually tell me, share with me how going full jungle logic worked for you or did not work for you. You've been accused of meddling. Oh, okay. Interesting. I think I have too, probably. My foster mom taught me a lot about, you don't have to make everything that everybody's doing your business. I used to be very nosy and curious, and I would think I had to know everything about everybody. I'd be like eavesdropping on conversations or whatever. I was like a teenager at the time. But my foster mom taught me not everything is meant to be your business. Hi, buddy. Hold on. Answering somebody in a text. All right. So open with a positive. Though it's only an opening phrase, it serves the purpose of placing a positive framework around a potentially difficult conversation. I know you care about us and you really mean well when you, blank, blank, project positive intent. I appreciate that, blank. You care about my relationship. You want me to be happy. You care about how I look. You care about how I dress. You want us to have a nice wedding and get the right gifts. Yeah, being appreciative, I think, is a great strategy with any type of personality. Just acting like, not acting like, but being appreciative and saying, well, I understand that you're saying this because you care or whatever. They called a meddling kid also. Called you a meddling kid, you mean, Shaggy? Interesting. Okay, I'm sorry that happened to you, but were you able to look into it and see if there was any truth to that? Did you get it under control? If you did have truth in that? Okay, describe the problem while we're waiting for Shaggy's answer. This is where you state your position. If the meddler's demanding too much of your time, be honest about it. If your meddler's doing things against your wishes, like spoiling your children or talking to significant people in your life without your permission, be honest about it. Always preface your honest statement with the words, I know you mean well when you blank. Or, I know you're trying to be helpful when you blank. I agree with that. I think that's a good way to start a dialogue with somebody that you feel is being intrusive or invasive. I know you mean well. I know you're concerned. I know you care. That kind of thing. Talk about the effects. This is where you tell your meddler the part that's hardest on you. And therefore, it's the hardest part of the process. Do it in a pleasant manner. But do it well because everything depends on giving your meddler an accurate understanding of your problem with the meddling behavior. Make sure your description includes yourself so that your meddler is hearing about the effect on you rather than your opinion of the meddler. Yeah, that's a hard thing to do because you want to automatically start being like accusatory and calling them out on stuff. I'm definitely guilty of that a lot of times. You want to address it like, they're being kind to you. They're looking out for you, that sort of thing. Not, I don't appreciate you meddling in my life. I don't appreciate you trying to micromanage me and tell me what to do. That never works good. So here's what they suggest. I felt so angry and frustrated I could barely talk to you. It really bothered me that you went ahead and did something I asked you not to do. The result is that I feel afraid to trust you. And I'm anxious about having you spend time with the kids. And I feel awful about that. So it's getting worse for me, not better. Though your intentions are good, it's your actions I'm having trouble with. I feel put down. I feel ashamed, hopeless, and discouraged, and I want to protect myself from feeling that way, so I ignore you. It doesn't have to be that way. This is something I can't change right now. I'm not married, I'm fat, and I'm working on these things. So that's how you would answer somebody that calls you out on stuff. That's fine. He can troll, or she, whoever. I don't mind trolls, Jeff. I interact with trolls. Trolls are people too. Okay. You can also talk about what might happen if the behavior continues. Many people are motivated to change out of fear of negative consequences. This may prove to be the missing piece in your meddler's understanding of the situation. Let the meddler reply. Thank you for looking out for me, though, Jeff, in case that did bother me, but it really doesn't. I would be happy with a room full of trolls if they wanted to feel comfortable here, just so I have somebody talking to me. But I have other people that come in from time to time, so it's not always trolls. Okay, this is where you listen to your meddler's position. Let your meddler explain, defend, and justify as much as he or she wants. Look and sound like you completely understand while listening for possible interests that could give you some options. When you give your meddler the chance to account for the meddling behavior, you may be surprised to learn that the underlying reasons for your meddler's behavior were actually better than the ones you had thought. Describe a desired boundary. If you've been listening well, chances are you've now thought of a way to have it work for both of you. But even if you draw a blank on options, you have to tell your meddler what it is that you want. If you ask for more than you expect to get, you have room to back down a bit and then let your meddler feel like something has been won. If you like, you can ask your meddler for a solution before you offer yours. But you must get some option on the table in order to draw a line somewhere. Say what you would like to experience around the issue. What works for you? What doesn't work for you? Are there subjects where you'd welcome the meddler's interest? Indicate what those subjects are. Is there another way your meddler could show interest? Indicate what it is. Be as specific as possible and communicate in a calm, responsible way so you're setting a good example of how you want your meddler to respond. You can help me, and here's how it would work. If you see clothing that would work for me, I'd be interested in hearing about where you find it. If you know someone who you think would be a good partner for me, I'd be willing to consider that person, but only if you'll tell me and not him. Showing an interest in my life is not off limits to you, but this is the way in which you can be successful with your interest in helping me with my life. I like that. Okay, establish a signal. Once you've agreed upon a new boundary in the relationship, it would be nice if you could walk away from the conversation knowing that it was firmly in place. But that isn't likely. The meddler's behavior was automatic and unconscious, at least in part. You can expect some backsliding. It helps both of you to have a signal system in place so that if the behavior reoccurs, you can bring it to your meddler's attention without creating a conflict. The signal could be something small, like holding up your first finger and slowly moving it from side to side. Or if the problem happens on the phone, a word or phrase might be helpful. When you have a way to keep the boundary defined, your relationship can improve through time. Reinforce the boundary. Catch your former meddler in the act of doing it right and show appreciation for this. Make it your responsibility to pay attention in order to reinforce the behavior you want. Okay, here we go with the fun part. Great moments in difficult people history. I kind of like this because they go back to the whole original story and they show you the technique in process. All right. Oh, hold on. Let me check my messages a minute here. The life and loves of Sally Squirrel. Sally Squirrel sat on a branch, shyly sharing some nuts with Red. Oh, now she's with the guy squirrel. She knew it was only a matter of time before her mother showed up. Sure enough, a leap, a scamper, and a jump later, and her mother was on the same branch with them, suspiciously checking them out. Hello, ma'am, Red said politely. Hi, Mom, said Sally. Sally turned to Red and said, I'll see you later. Red took the hint, but no sooner had he turned tail, hopped and bounced and leaped away Then Susie began the interrogation. So, you're still seeing that red, she said intensely. What are your plans? Where is this relationship headed? This time, Sally was ready. She chuckled inside and reminded herself that just because her mother asked a question, it didn't mean she had to answer it. Instead, she said, Thanks for wanting the best for me. I appreciate how you're willing to use valuable nut gathering time to check in with me. Susie just twitched her tail and said, That doesn't answer my question. Sally had spent a lot of time mentally preparing for this. She spoke calmly and directly. Mom, I really do appreciate that you want me to have a good relationship, but we have a problem here. Really? Her mother said. What is it? I know you mean well, but when you follow me around and snoop on my relationship, it drives me nuts. I feel like running away from you. Sometimes I even consider doing something nutty just to spite you, like seeing a squirrel that really is no good for me. You don't want that, do you? Of course not, but Sally was determined to not let her mother control this conversation. No buts, Mom. I have found that by getting to know different squirrels, I am able to better define what I'm looking for in a relationship. This is my business, not yours. If I tell you about any of my relationships, it will be when I'm ready to do so. Now, if you like, there's a role for you to play. If you want to tell me about squirrels you think I might find interesting, I'll consider them, but I don't need a matchmaker. And if you insist on trying to be one by setting up meetings with them or prying into my affairs, I will ignore you and scamper off the other way. Do you understand? Susie was taken aback. But I'm simply looking out for what's best for you, she replied defensively. I know you are, and I appreciate your intentions. I'm telling you how you can do that successfully. You may not hunt me down and intrude when I'm with someone, but you may ask questions privately. I may choose not to answer them. If you think there's someone I ought to meet, you can tell me. But whether I choose to act upon your suggestion is entirely up to me. All right? Susie looked at the branch beneath her and said, You know, I was young once, and my mother did the same thing to me. I can't believe I'm doing it to you. I used to hate it. Then you agree to these conditions for your involvement in my love life? Agreed. I promise to do my best to change, but it's so automatic. What if I forget? Sally smiled. Then let's have a signal. If I swish my tail from side to side real fast like this, and Sally demonstrated, that means you're crossing the line, okay? Okay, her mother agreed. Then Sally said, There is one area where I really would like your advice. Oh, Sally, nothing would make me happier. What is it? Susie asked, excited about an opportunity to help her daughter. How do you get those seeds in the bird feeder? Or how do you get at those seeds in the bird feeder? I've seen you do it, and you're quite good at it. You have a secret squirrel. Oh, okay. Yes, I am. Come on. It's not hard. I'll show you. And with a leap, a scamper, and a bounce, Susie and Sally were happily on their way. The moral of this story is that when you're feeling nuts and seeing red, take the leap and build a boundary. That was cute. Oh my gosh. So when someone becomes a meddler, your goal is to preserve and protect the boundary. 1, appreciate the intentions. 2, give them a place to meddle. 3, meddle with the meddling. 4, negotiate the boundary. Plan a meeting. Be prepared and behave wisely. Then A, open with a positive. B, describe the problem. C, talk about the effects. D, let the meddler reply. E, describe a desired boundary. F, establish a signal. And G, reinforce the boundaries. Boundaries, yes. That's a good one. Okay, that's the end of the meddler. We're going to get right into the martyr next, because this is the very last one that we have to do as far as personality types. That's the picture of the martyr. Oh, poor me. It says guilt trip travel. Take a number. You see that? The little ticket thing. Guilt trip travel. Take a number. Because, of course, martyrs like to lay guilt trips on us all the time. Okay. The martyr. By the way, if you have not done so already, please subscribe to my channel if you find it interesting, intriguing, or entertaining in any way, shape, or form. Or you might know somebody that's looking for a channel just like this one. I'm not silly enough to think that this channel is for everybody, but there is somebody out there that might enjoy my channel or something on it. So if you happen to be that person, please like and subscribe, share the video, and also hit the little bell so you don't miss future uploads. All right, the martyr. Winter was in the air. Hibernation day was tomorrow, but tonight all Papa Bear could think about was his final meal of the season. As he sat in his big chair, his mouth watered at the enticing thought of his favorite food, fresh, hot porridge, because of course, what else would a bear want to eat, right? Mama Bear brought her bowl to the table first, so her porridge would have a chance to cool off. Baby Bear was served next, so that by the time Mama Bear and Papa Bear were served and they started eating, his would be just right. Papa Bear liked his porridge piping hot, so his was served last. Makes logical sense. As he took the first whiff of his porridge, Papa Bear was distracted by the antics of his bear cub, who was rocking back and forth in his chair with glee. He gently reprimanded Baby Bear. "Sit still or you'll break the chair." Then he turned to Mama Bear. "That chair is barely holding together. Grandpa Bear doesn't know how to make furniture. He should stick to gathering honey and leave the carpentry to the beavers." Mama Bear nodded knowingly. Then she remembered. "Speaking of your dad, he stopped by earlier. He wants you to come over to help with some last-minute projects." Papa Bear's jaw dropped. "Help him with projects? Honeydew time is over. Tomorrow is hibernation day." The phone rang then. Mama Bear pushed her chair back and reached behind her to answer it. Papa Bear and Baby Bear listened as she said a little loudly, "Grandpa Bear, yes, I gave him the message." Mama Bear tried to smooth this over before it got out of paw. "Well, I'm sure there's very good reason. Tomorrow is the beginning of hibernation, and he's going to hibernate without stopping in to see his parents?" They could all hear Grandpa Bear's depressed voice coming through the phone's earpiece. "All right, if you can't spare a few moments to help me out or have a meal with us, tell him I understand. Me, I'm not ready to hibernate because I spent all that time making that nice chair for Baby Bear and those big beds for you and my boy. But if he's too busy..." Papa Bear rolled his eyes, bared his teeth, and then in an exasperated whisper to Mama Bear said, "I didn't ask him to make that furniture. Not to mention that my bed is too hard and yours is too soft." "Hi, Memphis, Mommy. Mars." "Mine is just right." Baby Bear laughed and jumped up and down in his chair with delight. Papa Bear turned and whispered loudly, "That's because I made it. Now quit jumping around. That chair your grandpa made is falling apart." Mama Bear didn't want to be in the middle of this, so she gestured to Papa Bear to come to the phone. "He's your father," she mouthed. Papa Bear reluctantly rose from the table, knowing his fresh, hot porridge would soon be cold, stale mush. Feeling grumpy, he grasped the phone in his paw and said, "Hello, Dad. Listen, we're just sitting down to eat." "Hey there, Big Bear," said Grandpa Bear as if he hadn't heard a word. "Ready for a nice winter's hibernation in that new bed I made you? Must feel good to be able to hibernate in your own home. That's why I worked so hard all those years doing tricks at the circus, traveling from town to town, living life on the road so my cups could have it better than I had it. Now, if it isn't too much to ask, why don't you all come over here right now? Your mama prepared a special meal for you, fresh fish." "Oh, come on, Dad," Papa Bear said. "You know I don't like fish." Grandpa Bear said, "It would kill your mother to hear you talk that way after she went through so much trouble. Here, your mother wants to talk to you." Grammy Bear's voice was sweet as honey. "Hi, my favorite teddy bear. I went fishing all day today and caught some fresh salmon. It's all ready for you when you get here." Papa Bear groaned. "Aw, Ma." "Don't aw, Ma, me. Last time I saw you, why, you were nothing but fur and bones. Not to mention that I spent the whole day fishing, even though I just had my fur done. But of course, if you're too important to spend a little time with us, or our food isn't good enough for you, we'll understand. Don't feel obligated just because we won't see you for months, and we haven't seen Baby Bear all season. He probably doesn't even know who we are at this point anyway." Papa Bear sighed. "Okay, Ma, we'll be there shortly." He hung up the phone, looked longingly at the porridge. "Grr, I love porridge, and I hate fish. I was so looking forward to the one last bowl of piping hot porridge before we go into hibernation." Mama Bear tried to reassure him. "Don't worry, the porridge will still be here when we get back." Papa Bear whined. "Well, that's easy for you to say. You like your porridge cold, but I like mine hot. It's not the same when it's reheated. And besides, I haven't even fixed the lock on the door yet. I was planning on doing that after my porridge." "Oh, don't be a worry, Bear," Mama Bear replied. "The forest is safe. Besides, we're bears. Nobody will come into our home uninvited. And with that, the three bears left the house and lumbered down the path, with Papa Bear grumbling every step of the way. Martyrs are needy givers, giving gifts, whether you want them or not. Each one comes with an obligation or strings attached. Martyr behavior begins when the intention to get along combines with the intention to get appreciation. So here we go. This is the martyr. They're in the approval and attention zone here. There they are at the bottom, the martyr. Okay. Next page. Welcome, everybody. Hi, Grandma Ducky. When the intent to get appreciated is thwarted and the intent to get along is projected onto someone else, martyrs try harder to matter in your life in order to feel loved and become needy givers. This can happen between people when there is competition for affection, or martyrs feel ignored or taken for granted. Then their good intentions grow in intensity and become a need for approval along with a need for attention. Needing approval, martyrs don't ask for what they want. And needing attention, they fail to find out how to do so. Okay, Shaggy. Oh, well, this book here, this Dealing with People You Can't Stand, uses like little kid stories to kind of explain their points, Grandma Ducky. That's why it seemed like that. But Ducky, I don't know if you heard, but this book's coming up next. I found it, the Boundaries book. Somebody else was going to do the Boundaries book with me, but I guess she changed her mind. So it's okay. I'm going to do it anyway because I think it's needed on YouTube and in life. Boundaries for all. All right. The range of difficulty, mild to muttering. There are a number of ways for martyrs to distress and disturb other people. First, there's mild martyr approach. Mild martyrs start with the obligation inherent to any family relationship and build on that as a base. They do what's asked of them, just as most people would, and then they do more and without question. They also do what's not asked of them and without asking questions. They observe a need and fill it, thinking, I'm doing you a favor. In this way, they gain favor by their efforts and build the expectation of their help. What are boundaries? Yeah. Oh, me too, Mommy Mars, me too. I'm probably going to do the first chapter today after I write my grocery list and try to limp my way into the kitchen to clean a little bit. Okay, no, I'm not really limping, but I'm trying to go really lightly on this sore foot because I'm supposed to be sitting here with it up at all times. And then I forget and I put it down and I put it back up again. I'll get it right eventually. Okay, martyrs will play on any... Wait a second. Just a second. Okay, there's also the muttering martyr approach. The pattern is the same with one exception. Muttering martyrs do everything obviously and begrudgingly, saying, yeah, sure, why not? It isn't like I have anything else to do. They complain out loud, yet they do as they're asked. And over time, this builds up their sense of entitlement of quid pro quo. The muttering martyrs say, I'm doing you a favor. You owe me. On occasion, there is a martyr meltdown. Maybe it's the result of using the other approaches for too long. Or maybe it just occurs spontaneously after the martyr has had a particularly bad day. Or maybe the martyr is dealt a reversal in the game of life, and it all seems so unfair. The martyr screams, what about me? And turns into a puddle of self-pity, which pulls hard on whatever obligation is available. I've seen that before, for sure. As people tire of the unsolicited help, bouts of self-pity and guilt, the martyr winds up doing more and getting less in return. You're funny, Jeff. I know, we don't really call it the creamed corn aisle. It's the canned food or vegetable aisle. That's how we call it at my store. Martyrs harm their own self-interest in at least two specific ways. First, the unasked for gifts and services go unappreciated, and others feel no pity for people who seem so capable of providing enough pity for themselves on their own. Second, the martyr's gifts come to be taken for granted and again go unappreciated. People figure if they want to do it, let them. This locks the martyrs into a try and fail loop from which there is no exit. The harder martyrs try, the more they fail. The more they fail, the harder they try. The more they give, the less they're appreciated. the less they're appreciated, the more they give. And no one gives back because the neediness and annoying behavior are both unattractive qualities in a person. The attempts by martyrs to tap into obligation and invoke guilt result in no one wanting to give them anything ever. Makes sense to me. Okay, you'd better adjust your attitude. Martyrs will play on any vulnerability detected in you, so keep your shields up. Keep reminding yourself that the martyr's need for significance is the drive behind the moaning and struggling, rather than someone else's failure to appreciate them, as they claim. Keep some emotional distance on the inside so you don't get hooked into feeling guilty. By the way, I'm going to read that again, and I'll tell you why. There are people in your life, online and offline, who exhibit these kind of traits, the poor me and after all I did for you type of thing, you know. No, not you, Ducky. It's the title. You'd better adjust your attitude. Not directed at anybody. Okay, so I'm going to read that again. If I can find it, I'm going to read it again. Just a second. Why did I lose my place? Oh my goodness. Okay, so here. Keep reminding yourself. Listen to this carefully, y'all, because this is something you need to know. Because you've seen martyrs and you've heard martyrs. Keep reminding yourself that the martyr's need for significance, their need to matter, their need to be important to somebody, is the drive behind their moaning and struggling, rather than what they're telling you, which is nobody appreciates me, nobody cares. That's not what their problem is. Their problem is that they want to be appreciated. It's not that nobody is appreciating them, it's that they don't feel appreciated. So keep some emotional distance on the inside so you don't get hooked into feeling guilty. Your demeanor is important. The need for validation in martyrs is so intense that you must feel some appreciation for them if you hope to gain their trust and influence their behavior. Thank you, Grandma Ducky. Approach them as if they deserve gratitude for something. And if you can't think of anything for which to be grateful, then be grateful that their impact on your life has its limits. Appreciate them for all that they don't do, or appreciate them for all they try to do, or appreciate them for all they want to do. One way or another, your demeanor must come across as genuinely considerate and appreciative. At the same time, you must empathize with how unappreciated they feel. Welcome to the membership. Thank you. One song a month. Okay, you got it. One song a month. Just remind me when you want that song, okay? And I will do it. All right. And do you want that song posted in membership only, or do you want me posted public and then put it in membership? Let me know. Don't call them martyrs. Here's the cautions to be aware of when you're dealing with martyr behavior. Don't call them martyrs. Doing so is guaranteed recipe for starting a conflict. Martyrs want your gratitude and empathy, not a label for their behavior. Yes, a lot of people on here hate labels. They hate them because it makes them feel bad, you know. Okay, don't defend yourself. It serves no purpose since the problem is about martyrs rather than you. If martyrs are trying to hold you accountable for their feelings of insignificance, you need only thank them for being honest or for bringing their feelings to your attention, without engaging in a dialogue about what is and isn't true regarding you. Any defense you might offer will sound like you are making excuses, so you might as well excuse yourself from this futile exercise. Right, Grandma Ducky? Exactly. Don't try to fix the problem. It doesn't exist anywhere except in the mind of the martyrs. And any attempt you make to fix it simply affirms and strengthens their commitment to having the problem. Don't let them carry the entire burden. If you see martyrs taking on all kinds of things about which they can complain later, get engaged and insist that they should do only their fair share. And if they take on more, they'll have no one to blame but themselves. But by letting them know this in the moment, you create something to refer back to when the guilt trip starts again. So I guess that's kind of like, if they take on more than they need to, you can kind of say, well, I did warn you. I told you it was going to be a little bit too much, I don't know, kind of an I told you so attitude, I guess. Your goal is to sever the strings and keep the connection. My goal was to sever the strings and keep them severed. Martyrs try hard to matter in your life, and they become needy givers. There's always a string attached, and you'll feel the pull as they invite you to feel the guilt. But this is an unhealthy and unhappy way to win approval or gain recognition. When dealing with the martyrs, your goal is to sever the strings of guilt while keeping the connection and the relationship positive. Action plan. Here's what you're going to do to establish this new way of looking at the martyr. Number 1, look for a chance to give. By handling the martyr's need for significance preventively, you might be able to avoid the latest episode of Poor Me. While it may or may not cancel an ongoing soap opera, it can give you welcome relief. And it may very well might change the foundation of your relationship with the martyr. Such things have happened before. Here we go with the dialogue. Danny told us, actually, this isn't really a dialogue per se. It's a guy telling his story. It started about 5 years after I moved out on my own. My father used to call my sisters whenever mother browbeat him. He'd say, I can't do anything right for her. Everything I do is wrong. She's never happy, no matter how hard I try. I don't think we're going to make it. But when they asked him why he kept trying, his answer was always the same. He felt like he owed it to her. It's easy to understand why he felt that way, because she was always at him about what she'd done for him. Why did she do all those things for him? I asked her, and she said it was because she owed it to him. And he was always after my sisters about what he had done for them. And why did he do those things for them? I asked him, and he said it was because he owed it to them. And my sisters were after me about what they had done for him. And I asked why they did all those things for him, and they said because they owed it to him. One day it occurred to me that here are all these people that I care about, and they all do wonderful things for each other, yet they don't give each other any real appreciation because everyone feels so unappreciated. And so they're all driven by guilt. So now I make it my work to give all of them the appreciation they deserve. And why do I make that my work? Because I love them. And it's my pleasure to appreciate them. And they do deserve a lot of appreciation. My appreciation may not mean that much to them, but at least this way they're all getting the same. And they're all getting some. And maybe someday they'll follow my example. You never know. In the meantime, I get to enjoy all of them, and they seem to enjoy me too. That's good. Yeah, it's a bad thing to be in a position where you do things because you owe it to somebody. You feel obligated. Nobody wants to feel obligated. At least most people I know don't. They want to do something because they want to do it. That's why when people give me things, I don't say, oh, you shouldn't have. Because I know they wouldn't have, most people I know, unless they wanted to. So they know they shouldn't have necessarily, or that they didn't have to do it, but they want to because they appreciate me and they want to give out of appreciation. And that's the right way to give. All right. Let martyrs know that you don't take them for granted, and they'll be less likely to assume that you've forgotten them. You can do so in the following ways. Tell them what you love. When they do things or say things that you don't appreciate, tell them that you appreciate their positive intentions. Tell them what they could do that you would appreciate even more. By directing them to an area where they can know that it matters, they learn how to play a role in your life that truly matters to you. Take their side. If you do something that crosses them and they blame something you said or did for their hurt feelings, there's no amount of explaining that will change the way they feel. But if you apologize or acknowledge their view of the situation, they may let go of their hurt and choose love. Or they may not forgive you if you apologize anyway. That happens too. But you have no control over that. You just do the right thing and see where it goes from there. Harry told us, my mother, Sybil, learned from my wife's sister that I had not told her about a significant event involving my daughter. Sybil was so furious that she stopped talking to me completely. Whenever I called, she would shout at the phone, you don't care about me, and then hang up. If I came to her door, she would yell from the other side, go away, you don't care about me. This was difficult for me because I had withheld the information initially in order not to upset or worry her. but after the fact, it was having the opposite effect. One day, I sent her a huge bouquet of flowers with a note that read, "I see your point. I was thoughtless. I love you. Please forgive me." The result? She called me and thanked me for the wonderful flowers, and she told me that she loved me too. Speak to the child within. Like children, going to an extraordinary length to win approval, martyrs often try harder than anyone to win your love and appreciation. When you see this behavior as childlike, you can speak to the child within, using the same facial expressions, and voice tones that you might use with children. Give martyrs the attention they desire. When a martyr says a pathetic, "Poor me," you can lift the burden from the martyr's shoulders by saying, "Oh, you poor baby, you need a little loving right now, don't you?" Such a playful, loving communication may be just what is needed to soothe the martyr's soul. Several of the people we interviewed described this as an effect that was a worthy one. No, I'm not going to do that to a martyr. You poor widow baby. No, that's just weird. I can tell you, though, that the narcissist, Becky, in my life in the past used to do that all the time. She would say to her husband, "I want Krispy Kremes. It'll make me feel better." I'm like, oh my God, you're like in your 30s, lady. What is wrong with you? And he would take her and go get her Krispy Kremes. Oh my Lord. To this day, it just makes me shake my head and roll my eyes. Seriously. So yeah, I wouldn't suggest that option personally, but I guess if it works for you, go for it. Do it. Option 2, disrupt the guilt trip. The martyr is visiting you. The phone rings, and as you excuse yourself and reach to answer it, the martyr says, "That's all right, take the call, though I'm only here for a little while. Don't worry about me. I'm sure whoever it is has something more important to tell you than what I was talking about." That's your invitation to go on a guilt trip, a field trip into the fantasy land of if only, if then, shoulda, coulda, woulda, and I wish. The feeling of guilt is your ticket to ride. Board the bus and away you go, but you don't have to get on the bus. When you understand the dynamic of guilt, you can avoid it. I can't tell you how many times people have pulled that with me. It's okay, just talk to those people, just chat with them in comments. It doesn't matter to you that I'm sick. I don't have a lot of time left, blah, blah, blah. I'm not talking about people that are dying, just people that were busy and expected me to drop everything to go and chat with them when I was in the middle of maybe counseling somebody or coaching somebody. And be like, it's okay, I don't matter that much anyway. I'm sure what they're telling you is much more important. Oh, you used to irritate the crud out of me. Hence why I don't coach anymore. Okay, strip it. When you understand the nature of guilt, you can strip away the veneer of obligation to see exactly how the guilt trip works. So what is guilt? It's an emotion you feel when you do something that violates your values. If you value family, but your job keeps you away from them, you feel guilty. If you value loving kindness, but yell at your child, you feel guilty. If you see someone suffering and do nothing to help and you value being of service, you feel guilty. Even if the action or inaction that violates your values is your best choice under the circumstances, you still feel guilty. Guilt is not inherently a bad thing. People who don't feel it at all tend to end up as criminals. When it doesn't debilitate, it can motivate. Guilt helps us moderate bad behavior. It induces introspection, and it even contributes to the process of creative thinking. You can resolve guilt feelings by taking action or refraining from action. So the feeling of guilt has the power to make us consider our actions and change our behavior in order to restore our values to their rightful place in our lives. Hang on, guys. My phone go. Make sure I'm not ignoring him. All right. How does guilt hook into your sense of obligation? When you feel in the wrong, you want to set things right. People who grew up with constant criticism or who got blamed for things they did not do may feel in the wrong even when they're not. These people may intentionally do something bad as an act of rebellion, and then they live with the fear of being found out. They're ready to go on the guilt trip. People brought up to believe that doing nothing is the worst thing they can do may feel guilty every time they try to relax. Such guilt feelings are the price for easy pass on the guilt trip turnpike. All that remains is to punch your ticket, and they oblige you. They create a link between your sense of regret and obligation, and you're doing what they want. In effect, the martyr says, if you were more responsible, you would do as I want. If you were more caring, you would do as I want. If you were more appreciative of me, you'd do as I want. If you were more effective, you'd do as I want. Or the martyr might use the negative corollaries. If you weren't so irresponsible, you would do as I want. If you weren't so unappreciative, you would do as I want. And so on. Recognize the pattern for what it is, and you don't have to internalize it at all. Flip it. When martyrs directly say something intended to make you feel guilty, you can flip it around to make them feel guilty for saying it. Flipping the guilt requires you to notice it and turn it around. If martyrs accuse you of not caring, tell them they aren't caring about your caring. If they tell you that you don't appreciate them, tell them they must not appreciate your appreciation. By refusing to accept their explanation of your behavior and by calling their behavior into question, you flip the guilt back where it belongs, and thus you free yourself of any obligation to do or not do what you do or don't want to do. Martyr. You don't appreciate all I've done for you. You. I do appreciate all you've done for me, but I don't think you appreciate my appreciation. Martyr. That's not true. You. Well, it isn't true for me either. Martyr. If you really loved me, you would help me with this. You. If you really loved me, you would understand why I can't. Martyr. But I do really love you. You. And I do really love you too. Okay. Snippet. Another way to take you on a guilt trip is to encourage you to do what you want to do with the attached condition that you should feel bad about doing it while you do it. So that's a double bind too, by the way. When somebody tries to tell you, oh, you can do that. Becky did that to her daughter. She was asked by her daughter, who was with her ex-husband visiting, I want to go trick-or-treating. Now, my former narcissist mentor was a Christian. She's a pastor's daughter. So she was against Halloween, of course, was like, no, you're not going to do trick-or-treating. We don't believe in that, whatever. She's like, yeah, but Mom, I'm with Dad, and, they want to take me out with the kids. And she's like, well, I'm going to just let you decide, So she decides to go trick-or-treating, and Becky has a meltdown, and she hangs up the phone, and she's like, can you believe that? Can you believe she chose that? You gave her the choice. I know, but I didn't believe that she would choose that. I can't believe we taught her this or that, and blah, blah, blah. I said, then why'd you give her the choice? Why didn't you just tell her no? And that's like the same thing they're talking about here. Yes. Dana, a little bit, is very good at explaining psychological stuff like that, for sure. Yeah, you can definitely hear the Carpenters again, Grandma Ducky. Now that you've joined my membership, that is the very least I can do for you after everything you've done for me, seriously. Okay, so martyrs attempt to attach the consequence of guilt to your determination to make your own choices. Why? Because guilt becomes obligation. By building the sense of obligation over time, they can invoke it at a future time to get what they want or to stop you from doing what they don't want you to do. Obligation, even when it's manufactured in this way, can be just the kind of access they need to keep you in check on the larger issues of the relationship. The best protection is to snip the connecting cord they've attached that ties your choice to guilt. First, snip the cord inside yourself. Then thank them for their support as if support was what they had to offer. This disconnects their access and frees you to move on without any chain of obligation to bind you. So here's how we do this. Martyr says, go ahead. Don't worry about me. You say, okay, that's great. Thanks. That'd be me. Martyr says, here, let me get the check. I'll find a way to cover it. You, all right, if you insist. Oh my gosh, they know me too well. That is exactly, I don't play those games. If somebody says, look, I don't like you anymore, I don't want anything to do with you, I don't like the way you do stuff or whatever, I just say, okay, that's fine. I wish you well, or I just say, that's fine. I think we should part then. I had to do that with Becky. I just said, we don't obviously click, so it's best that we be apart. I've even told people on here, if you don't like me or you think I'm a hypocrite or something about me doesn't appeal to you, then you got to like yourself more than to sit here and listen to me. Don't come in. You know, don't try to obligate yourself to be here if I make you miserable. By all means, like yourself more than that to put yourself through that torture. Okay, sometimes martyrs assign value to your choices, and they make a negative comparison to their own value in your life, in either caring or appreciating them. You care more about him than you do about me. You care more about yourself than you do about me. You think that's more important than I am. Oh boy. Yeah. Okay. I won't say who does this, but there are a few people I know that do that to me all the time. The internet's more important to you. YouTube's more important to you. What you're doing right now can't wait because it's more important than what I need. All the time. Yeah. The best response is to snip the connection between doing what you want and the motives assigned to it by martyrs. You can easily do this by telling them that caring or appreciation is the reason you're doing what you're doing. Give them credit for the value, then appreciate their understanding. And this is how you do it. The martyr says, go ahead, you obviously care more about that dog than you do about me. You. Actually, I'm taking care of the dog because I gave my word, just as you would if you were in my place. So thanks for your understanding. Martyr. Go on, if your husband and children are more important to you than your own mother. You. Actually, I'm attending to my family's needs just as you attended to ours. So thanks for understanding because I know you can appreciate that. Martyr. You don't have to come visit if you have more important things to do. You. You're right. It would be wrong to spend the money to make the trip right now. I appreciate your looking out for us like this. I like those. Nip it in the bud. What is the hook that obligates you with the martyr? What do you feel guilty about, and how does your martyr use it? To stay off the trip, you have to free yourself of the guilt that isn't yours and act on the guilt that is. If someone gives you feedback in an honest and non-malicious way, and that feedback makes you feel bad about yourself, then there are no martyrs involved and the guilt trip is your own. Identify the undermined value, do something to restore it, and the burden of guilt will evaporate. If you feel obligated because of something someone has done for you, balance the equation and be done with it. Take an inventory of what you've done in return for what the martyr has done for you and see how it looks on the balance sheet. If you owe the martyr and haven't paid the debt, come up with a plan and implement it. Or identify how you're repaying the debt and give yourself credit for it by knowing what it is. Then, when the martyr pulls on the obligation strings, they'll be attached to nothing, and they'll come off in the martyr's hands. Cool. Option 3, hit the reset on their upset. Sometimes people are upset because they keep upsetting themselves. Emotional problems, irrational thoughts, and difficult behaviors are often the results of taking external events personally. The best thing you can do to improve other people's sense of self-worth is to see and treat them as intrinsically valuable human beings. Respond to exaggerated badness. Have you ever had something bad happen to you and you played it over and over in the privacy of your mind so you wouldn't miss out on any aspect of the badness of it? Well, everyone does this at some point in life. Martyrs tend to make a habit of it. A glass of wine is spilled at an otherwise wonderful family gathering, and the martyr says, "The whole evening is ruined." If there isn't enough food or some detail was inadequately planned, the martyr says, "This evening is a disaster." I called it extremizing. But was the whole evening ruined, or was believing so what ruined it for the martyr? Was the gathering a disaster, or was the martyr's response the disaster? When people exaggerate the badness, you can exaggerate their exaggeration and then ask for a counterexample. So the martyr says, "Nothing could be worse." You say, "Nothing? You can't think of a single thing that could be worse?" Now, I have to tell you guys, my foster mom was really good at implementing this stuff that I'm sharing with you. That's probably why I don't get all butthurt and bent out of shape over stuff normally when I'm just by myself. When I associate with people like closely that are toxic to me, then stuff bothers me a lot more. It just gets to me, gets under my skin, that I want to lash out and I become belligerent and warlike. And I don't like that version of me. So I'd rather just be by myself for the most part and do my thing, because I don't like that when I get like that. Counter the frustration. Martyrs tend to express frustration with generalized self-pity, even though they're referring to specific external circumstances outside their control. They say always, never, everybody, and nothing. If you have a specific counterexample, and there are probably plenty for you to draw on, here's how to use it. Martyr says, you never come over to visit. You. Never? What about when we stopped by last week? Doesn't that count? The martyr says, I know nobody cares about me. You. Then I wonder why we threw that birthday party for you last year. Sorry, that's just papers falling over there that I need to clean up eventually. Upgrade to preferences. You guys, look at this. Look at this sleeping boy over here. He's literally sleeping there on my shoulder. Now he tried to climb behind me. What are you doing, buddy? You all comfortable over there, all snuggled up? Come here. I'm afraid you're going to fall on the floor. I don't want you to fall. Come here, guy. It's okay. It's okay. Hang on, guys. I need to adjust the cat. Where are you going, buddy? What's this? Okay, that's how he's sleeping, apparently. That looks funny. Okay. Anyway. Upgrade to preferences. Life is change, and it cannot be controlled. Preferences work better than rigid demands in dealing with people and events in a healthy way. People with preferences have some control over their own thoughts and feelings. People with rigid demands of life try to control events and people, and when their demands are not met, they become miserable. They could find a way out of their misery if they upgraded their demands into preferences, so that instead of focusing on how something should work out, they could focus on how they prefer it to work out, based on how it is. While martyrs may be unable to make this shift, you can offer an upgrade. The martyr says, you should have been more thoughtful about my request. You would have preferred me to be more thoughtful about your request. Martyr, I would have done anything for you if you just asked. That you would have preferred to do whatever I asked? When this kind of pattern is repeated over and over, it may make an impression on the way martyrs think about the woulda, coulda, shouldas. I know. He's very comfy. Hang on, Nai. Oh, Neo's outside. I'm going to have to uncomfy the cat for a moment. It's okay, Mav. Maverick's behind the computer. That's why you don't see him. Mommy's got to get up and let Nini in, buddy. Oh, my baby boy. Come on, Nai. I know, it's a little chilly out there, huh, buddy? You want some food? Hang on, y'all. I'm going to feed him a little bit of kitty chow here. Do you ever have those piles of paper that you pick up because you're going to put them away? You just pile them up, and then you're like, later, I'll put it away. And you just keep putting it somewhere, and it keeps getting knocked over and onto the floor. That's what's going on here with this pile of paper I have here. I keep meaning to put it away. I keep telling myself, I'm going to put it away for sure. And then it doesn't get put away, and it just keeps getting knocked down, knocked over, and dumped on the floor. So as soon as I'm done here, I'm going to put that away. Boo-boo man. Come here, my boo-boo man. He's sinking onto my shoulder. Hey, baby boy. Want to come sit with Mama? You can come sit with me if you want, buddy. He is adorable. You're still blue. Not sure you want that. Huh? You're still blue. I'm confused, Jungle Girl. What do you mean you're still blue? You're sad? I'm sorry. Oh, your wrench. Duh. Yeah, I am actually going to start removing wrenches again. That's true. Okay. Option 4, say no to unreasonable requests. Saying a clear no is an important skill, particularly for people with a well-rehearsed get-along approach to conflict avoidance. Saying no makes you into a more authentic person, and it lets people know how you actually feel about things. And when you agree to help or be helped, they'll know it's sincere and meaningful, not grudging or even given with hidden ill feeling. Actually, I don't think you are. Try again. Type something, Jungle Girl. Saying no does not make you selfish either, since in this case you wouldn't be focused on your self-interest to the exclusion of others. When it comes to saying no, it isn't what you say, it's how you say it that makes the difference. Say it calmly and simply, like it's the most normal thing to say in all the world. Repeat it if you have to. Keep it simple. If you encumber it with excuses out of concern that martyrs might get upset with you, your no will be easier to challenge and undermine. And if you become aggressive in saying no, martyrs will get very upset and will remember only how they felt when you said it, rather than focusing on what you were actually talking about. Yeah, I did it. To add some power to your no, shake your head no at the same time. This makes it a congruent message, which carries more force than the mixed message of saying no while looking tenuous, uncertain, or confused. To make your no more palatable to martyrs, you can preface it with a cushioning phrase like, "Thanks for asking, but no." Or, "I'm sorry, but I have to say no." Or, "Unfortunately, the answer is no." If you like, finish it with another cushioning phrase like, "Thanks for asking," or "Thanks for thinking of me," or "Perhaps another time." If you're uncomfortable with saying no, practice on empty elevators. At each floor, act as if you're being asked to get off before it's time and say, "No, not here," and "No, not now," and "No, it's too soon." Then when it's time to get off, say, "Yes, here it is," and feel how great it is to say yes only when the time is right. That's an interesting exercise. I'll have to try that next time I'm near an elevator. Okay, where I work, there's only 2 floors, so there's not many floors I can say yes or no at. Option 5, give them a glimpse of greatness. Sometimes you have to draw a bigger line and tell your problem people the truth about how their behavior is self-defeating and what you think would work better instead. The overview is the same for honesty as it is for any of the problem behaviors. Plan it, write it, rehearse it, and pick your time and place. Let's see. Your goal in being honest is to give the martyrs a glimpse of greatness. State your specific intent. Be specific about the problem behavior. Show them how the behavior is self-defeating. Suggest new behaviors. Reinforce behavioral change. However, there are 2 aspects of honesty that are especially important when dealing with the martyrs. Project a positive intent. Tell them thanks for taking care of things, putting all that work into it, making such a wonderful dinner, doing what you do. Be specific. Remember to use language like, "I'm sure you can appreciate," before showing them the self-defeating nature of their behavior. Okay. My favorite part is here now, and we are almost done, literally. Great moments in difficult people history. And as you might imagine, if you've been following this book with me at all, we're going back to the 3 bears story, which I am enjoying doing immensely. So, Grandma Ducky, if you're still here, here comes the children's story again. The 3 bears. It was 1 week before hibernation day when Papa Bear announced to Mama Bear and Little Bear, who wasn't a baby anymore, that they were going to visit Grandpa and Grammy Bear. Mama Bear looked at Papa Bear curiously, and he answered the unspoken question, telling her, "I don't want any last-minute calls ruining my pre-hibernation day porridge like last year." Papa Bear entered the secret code into the new alarm system he installed, double-checked the locks, and off they went. A short while later, they arrived at his parents' den. "Hiya, Dad," he called. "Hello there, son. To what do we owe this pleasant surprise?" "Well, I felt bad that last year's hibernation goodbyes were rushed and last minute. I thought we'd come earlier this year to see if you need help with any projects. At least we can have a nice visit and wish you a good winter's rest." "Well, that's darn nice of you," said Grandpa Bear. Then Grammy Bear came out of the cave after exchanging hugs with everyone. Mama Bear gave Grammy Bear a freshly collected jar of honey. "Here," she said, "just a little thank you present from all of us for all you do." "Isn't that special?" said Grammy Bear, holding up the honey so her honey bear could see it. Grandpa Bear slapped Papa Bear on the back and said, "So what should we do, sonny boy? Build some more furniture?" No, Papa Bear replied quickly, adding, "I mean, you already made us plenty of furniture, which we appreciate, but I think the time would be better spent if you played with your grand cub." So, Grandpa Bear showed Baby Bear some of his famous circus tricks. Ooh, Father be with whoever that is, having to ride in an ambulance. Lead, guide, and direct the surgeon's hands, the doctor's minds, and help them to help whoever that is with whatever they're dealing with. I pray healing and restoration of their body. I pray peace that passes all understanding to ride with them in the ambulance, and for angels to surround them in the doctor's office or the hospital room. In Yeshua's name, amen. Okay, I heard an ambulance. I had to pray. Meanwhile, Papa Bear decided to handle the dinner issue with his mom before it became a big deal. "Mom, can we talk about dinner?" But before he could go further, Grammy Bear said, "Don't tell me you're not going to eat salmon. You never appreciate the good food I make for you." Papa Bear growled and stopped, which stopped Grandma Bear short. Then Papa Bear softened and said, "I don't think you appreciate just how much I appreciate you." Grammy Bear's eyes widened. She was clearly confused by Papa Bear's relaxed posture and caring tone. Papa Bear continued, "I love you, Mom. I know you go to a lot of trouble to get salmon. You also prepare it with such love, and everyone else loves it. So I don't mind if you serve it. It's just that I don't care for salmon, no matter who makes it, and that's why I'm not going to eat it. Still, I can enjoy everyone else enjoying your wonderful salmon, and I'll enjoy all the other delicious dishes that you have on the side." After a moment's pause, Papa Bear added, "However, there is one area where I would love the help of your culinary expertise." Grammy Bear was feeling the love. "Sure, my little cubby, what is it?" "Well, I love porridge so much, and if you could figure out how to reheat it and still have it taste good, it would mean a lot to me." "Figure it out? That won't be necessary. Tonight, while everyone else eats salmon, you're going to be eating a bowl of fresh, hot porridge made the way your mama likes it, or makes it." And with that, they gave each other a big bear hug. The moral of this story is that a firm no, a big hug, and a jar of honey make for a happier hibernation. Okay, so quick summary. When someone becomes a martyr, your goal is to sever the strings, keep the connection. Number 1, look for a chance to give. 2, disrupt the guilt trip. Strip it, flip it, snip it, and nip it in the bud. 3, hit the reset on their upset. Respond to exaggerated badness, counter their frustration, upgrade to preferences. 4, say no to unreasonable requests. And 5, give them a glimpse of greatness. So, there you go. So, just to let you know, we got this much of the book left. We read this much right here. This thickness, that's what we've read over the weeks. I know, Jungle Girl's pretty cool, isn't it? The next part that I will be doing whenever is, what if people can't stand you? So it goes through, what if you're the tank? What if you're the grenade? What if you're the martyr? What if you're the nothing person, the maybe person? Goes through all of those. The judge. And then, of course, we get into different types of communication. Technology, I think email, cell phone, that sort of thing. Something like that. Whew. So anyhow, that is the end of that part of our book. And that leaves me just the rest of it to do that I just told you about. And whenever, we will be getting into boundaries. That will be the next part. It may be done today. I don't know. I do have to make a grocery list. I have to neaten some things around here. And that's what I'll be doing in the meanwhile while I sign off line. I eventually do want to start singing again with my guitar, maybe the piano too. I don't know. It's a lot of maneuvering around to combine both, but it's doable if I feel like doing that. I want to do some Catholic songs, actually, because I know a large majority of the people on here are Catholic, and they may appreciate some of the Catholic style music. So I may do that. I don't know. Right now, I need to pick up this mess, which is what you heard fall in the middle of everything. This is the mess, the pile. I keep picking up and setting on the piano saying, I'm going to go through that. Oh, I'm glad you caught me too. And then I don't go through it. I set it down on another pile in another place, and it ends up on the floor because the cats knock it down. Cats love knocking over water glasses and piles and anything they can knock down, take it from high up and push it down on the floor. They will do it. So I need to get to it and get that cleaned up. But thank you so much for coming in. Again, if you're new or you're watching this later, subscribe to my channel, hit the like button, which is the thumb up, share the video, let you get a glimpse of this little guy, share the video, and hit the bell. Hi, buddy. Yeah, hi. This is my Mav. Yes, I know. You're a sweetie. Yeah, hit the bell so you don't miss future uploads. You don't want to miss the Boundaries book. That's coming up sometime. Maybe today after I get some tea and soothe my throat a little bit because it's kind of sore from all the reading. But thanks for coming and hanging with me. Thanks for reading later or listening later if you do. Bless you all. And we'll see you soon. Shalom, everybody.